Yes.
Okay, good. So I just extended the deadline for submission to this tomorrow's weekend, right? No, tomorrow evening, sometime. I just extended the assignment to. So whoever hasn't really uploaded it, of course, that's a late submission, and you can still go ahead and do it. One last word. Put in a message, one of you on our WhatsApp group, saying that whoever hang on for that long and just probably logged out, tell them to log in back. Okay, can one of you do that? Let me have Deb and Priya do
We are
that.
doing it, sir.
Okay, good.
Yes.
So done. Pricing. Pricing is what we were discussing last term, and we said we'll talk about pricing vis-a-vis pati, patni, or wo, meaning that every company, every entity, every organization considers pricing as a primary important parameter for its survival. You price yourself wrong, you will die. You price yourself well, you have nice, good profitability. And there's been a general perception, and we will discover that as we move forward, general perception that price is everything and price can make or break a market. Not necessarily. There are many other things which fall in place. So with these three things, let's look at what is economics of pricing. We had a small run through on pricing, if you recall, because I was just thinking about it. You said, what is pricing? Why is pricing so very important? How do I price my product? How does a company like a car company or a manufacturing company price its product, because they spend a lot of R&D on a product, and then they intend to recover it over 100,000 vehicles sold, or whatever the idea is. Or if you make an app, you assume that 100,000 apps is what you would want to recover your cost of the expenses. But going further into economics, what is the economics of costing? Is that how do I play with economics? Is more like how do I manage things which are under my own control? Meaning to say, what does it cost for me to manufacture? Can I work on the costing? Can I play around with the costing? Can I make costing? Can I maybe have another supplier? Maybe the other supplier was going to give me a better price, and terms which you guys have grown up with. Just in time, the Japanese way of doing it was something which also brings into costing, is because why would I want to order a product or an item to my inventory much ahead of time? I want to make sure that what's in my inventory or what's in my godown or what's in my storage area is as little as possible, and then I turn around that very quickly. So one is to see how effectively can I control it. Second also works out to what is the margin, what is it that you really want to make out of it, and how do I do it? Am I in a sector which allows me to make money? Am I in a sector that's making me very, very thin? And what is it that I can play around with? Third, of course, is a given factor. Pure economics of supply and demand is that which curve am I in? If I'm on the demand curve, maybe the user, the customer is a little more tolerant towards pricing, towards quality, towards delivery, and things like that. But if I am on an excess supply thing, then the story is a little bit different. And of course, we all need to look at the fact that how do I incentivize my customer for buying my product? What do I give him in return? Do I give him maybe you order 300 grams of Kellogg's, I give you another 100 gram free, or it's all a play around that you would. So if that part of it is well understood, let's look at the other part of it, which is the customer. The customer is the paramount person in this whole chain of things. Okay, what is the customer? For the customer, it's all value. What does that customer think of your product? I mean, I see all kinds of things lying in my desk now. I bought them because I wanted them. There's a charger, there's a phone, there are lots of other things on my desk, and nobody pushed it to me. I mean, there were 100 different products, pricing, models, brands, but I chose a particular one, and a lot of other things that were associated with it. And if you would notice, there is Amazon always telling you people who bought this. What is the next line? What is Amazon?
Buy this together.
Yes. So people who bought this also bought this. People who bought this normally bought them along with this. And then they say, why don't you buy this and that, and then I'll give you a better price. So what is they're always trying to push you, but what are you looking at? What is the value that it brings in? Is it really worth it for me to do that? And then we have discussed a little more in depth on willingness to pay. And of course, like I told you in B2B, that there are many markets that the same product can be sold. There are tires. Do you want to be selling it for racing purposes, or for mining purposes, or for just a pleasure travel? So it's the same product. Who is your customer segment that you get? And of course, there's something that happens, and we'll discuss that, is the purchase decision. At the end of the day, the sale is only done, and there's a saying in business language, it's only when the money hits the bank that the sale is done. How many times have we left empty carts, or I mean, how many times have we left loaded carts in Amazon and other places? How many times have we discussed with to potentially buy something, and then you say, no, I'm not buying it, and then come out victorious. The very fact that you didn't buy means victory for me. So that's the purchasing decision that we have to look at. So we'll look at these few points as we go along. And then, of course, the competitor. There's needless to say, there is all competition available. There's a next best alternative, or am I the next best alternative? Did the customer come to me because he didn't find somebody else useful? Did the customer come to me because of my market price, and so on and all that? We will discuss how competition plays along it, and competition obviously exists in every market, unless and until it's a North Korean market, I guess. And even in North Korea, I guess there are more than one vegetable vendor. So there are competition all the time, and things go around. So then what do we say? And again, you're fighting for market share. Market share is the most important word. What is my market share? So given the price point, given that, how do I say, given that I am Tata Click, which is probably the alternative to Amazon, I may be wrong, but then just as a purpose of discussion, given that Tata Click is the alternative to the Amazon and Flipkarts that we do with, given that I have a reasonably good market pricing for my products, which come out, maybe the West Side products seem to sell better. My market share is reasonably good. So it's all about how do I define my market share. Somebody asked asked Steve Jobs, is that how come you only sell 10% or you have a market share of 10%? But then he said, this 10% are the ones who are giving me the highest amount of revenue. And you know that story is that, do you want to bleed and serve a massive customer base? Or do you want to have a niche and get the best out of your customers, both in terms of your own profitability? So that is what is the three things that we're talking. So get this right. Pricing is dependent on how can I cut cost. Pricing depends on what the customer thinks of my product. And pricing depends on what my competitor is doing to the market. If the competitor is selling high, I can follow him. I can increase the prices. So that is why carteling happens. If you notice that despite the fact that there are low-cost airlines and high-cost airlines or full carrier airlines, the pricing is just reducing. It's because each one is playing the game so nicely that the customer is left with very few choices. So this said, we will move to what is called the three parameters, which is price elasticity, price discrimination, and game theory, right? Any questions so far on this? This is, I'm doing it a little differently. This is the newer way of looking at price. We will actually start off from somewhere slide 31 or something, and then eventually go back to slides 1, 2, and 3. So if you have anything to talk to me on or want a clarification up to this point, raise your hand or ask a question. But I guess otherwise it's all fine. Okay. So now is what is elasticity? You know what is elasticity is, you know what is an elastic. So how much can I stretch my price to get to the volume that I demand? How much is the customer going to be tolerant to my price variation and not grumble too much about it? So the thing is, how much do you think I should reduce my pricing? And what is the impact of reducing the pricing? Will it give me a volume that I desire? Or do you think I should stay with the pricing to ensure that I have good profitability? And we will discuss all of these points in greater length as we go forward. But before we get there, let's take some time to look at these 3 points. This is called the we have not done this, right? I mean, just want to make sure. Have we done this?
No, this is new.
No, sir.
This looks new, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So let's look at, because these are important. I remember I left you with just a hint on pricing. So I just want to make sure that we get this right. So take a moment out and look at the 2 axes. One is involvement and the other is visibility. Okay. So morning breakfast. Let's pick up somebody and say, what did you have for morning breakfast? Let's have Dave, who woke me up today. What did you have for morning breakfast?
So I had idlis.
You went out and had a breakfast, or you had
No,
breakfast?
I had at home.
At home. Okay. So let's say you are a bachelor, or not necessarily bachelor, you guys decide to go and have a breakfast with friends and family. Or breakfast is no big deal typically. If you normally have to have anyway some kind of a breakfast. So if you're having a breakfast and you're eating out every day as a bachelor, how much would you involve your mind in thinking about it? The bare minimum of it, right? The bare minimum. How much would I actually bother? Not much. I will go to somebody, I'll go to the place nearby my house and I'll order an idli vada or dosa or something, have a quick coffee and be done with it. That's it. Now, minimal involvement. I don't mind being seen in the night dress, going on to that place with still the stub around, and then I don't really mind too much on how I appear while I'm having my breakfast, and nor do I actually question how much it costs me for breakfast. I know there is a certain thing in my mind. I'll spend anywhere between 70 to 80 bucks for an idli vada coffee. So at the end of the breakfast, I ask the guy how much it is. So he says 70, 75. It's okay. I will just pay the bill and get along. The other day he tells me 85 rupees. It's probably a little bit more than what I had yesterday, but I would not really bother much about it. Nor will I bother. I'm trying to get you guys to start thinking into what goes on in the mind, and this is both B2B and B2C, of course. But I'm just warming you up to the conversation. So the point is that somebody tells me that, hey, why don't you go to this place, which is about 5 kilometers from your house? The idli and vada is about 2 rupees, 3 rupees cheaper. I wouldn't really bother about it. I'm not too fussy about the pricing here because I have a certain band of thinking. And as long as that band is met, and there are so many other parameters that are involved, I would be happily going about it. It's only the next day when I get up and notice that, or the next day when I go, and then the guy tells me, sir, today's bill is 104 rupees. Well, that something has happened to me. I was never expecting it to be beyond 85, and 95 or 100 is going to send some trigger in my mind. I'll say, why the hell? What happened? What changed between yesterday and today? So that's what is the kind of feeling that goes into my typical routine activity of, let's say, a morning breakfast. But the same thing doesn't really apply into the family dinner or taking a guest out for dinner in one of those fine restaurants. Assuming that those are not the things that I do every day and I do that once in a while, what happens here is that I just take advice from somebody. I will go there, and of course, I want to be shown. I want to be visible. I want to impress my family. I want to impress my official guest. So I'm going to take him or out to one of those fine dining places, and I have a mental reservation of what the thing is likely to cost. So 9 times out of 10, the bill is going to be much more than what I anticipated. And the food is not going to be as good as I possibly assumed. So here, there's something else is happening. While there is not much of an involvement in the entire process because there's a huge branding of the restaurant involved, I'm doing this for a high visibility that I would be. It is very likely that somebody else might see me out there and be impressed by the fact that I just took my family out to ITC Gardenia or something like that, and I would like to be visible around in these places. So these are two parameters that happen. But what is going to happen here? What is going to happen here is that when the bill comes, I'm going to be surprised, and I find it expensive, and I may not visit the same place again. I would rather go to another place and not go back to the same place. So this is one scenario that is happening. The third scenario, which we would like to discuss about, is buying something which is personal, buying a washing machine. What happens when you buy a washing machine? The washing machine is, unfortunately, I invested in a washing machine which costs about 85,000 rupees. And I want to tell all people who come to my house that I bought a washing machine for 85,000 rupees, but unfortunately, I cannot keep it in the living room, right? And that'll be crazy. So what does that mean? That while I might be largely involved in the purchase of the washing machine, I thought 100 times, I visited 100 websites, I talked to a lot of these people, but all of them are done with my interest, my parameters involved. And this is, I'm not going to go to my office tomorrow and just say, hey guys, let's celebrate. I bought myself a washing machine. It does not going to work like that. So despite the fact that there is a huge involvement of mine, the visibility of this purchase is not going to be, it's unlike the television, right? I might even have a few friends coming here and watching the new 200-inch screen TV and all that. So you're now moving into the other quadrant in the matrix, wherein while you are largely involved, your whole family is involved in this purchase, the visibility of this purchase is going to be limited, and not many people are going to actually, you are going to talk about it. The last quadrant that we have on the top is buying a new car. Buying a new car is hugely involved activity. I'm going to check out with lots of people. My wife has her own requirements. My children may have their own requirements. And over and above that, despite what our requirements are, we want to be seen in the social world. We want to be seen around in the car. So there is high involvement and greater visibility. So these are the four possible consumer decision-making processes that happen. Now, if you understood this, let's try to bisect or dissect each one of them and see how they and what they mean to us. Look at this. I unfortunately just flipped the slide, meaning that the visibility and the involvement matrix just moved the other way around. So it's just the top and bottom, nothing else. So what happens when I buy myself a cup of coffee or a breakfast? There are price threshold. That's it. I don't really bother what the pricing is as long as it's under 85 or 90 rupees. So I'm insensitive to the price when it comes to anything below 85 rupees. And somebody tells me, Ramesh, if you go another 4 kilometers, a plate of idli is 5 rupees less. I wouldn't take it because price takes a back seat to convenience. That is why I remember when I was trying to buy myself a house, I just started interacting with, at that time, Shobha had just started opening up, and they started building a few residential towers in Bangalore, and I happened to meet one of the top guys. So I sought his advice, for what do you think is the three most important consideration for buying a house or buying an apartment? What do you think, guys, are the three most important considerations for buying an apartment? Anybody?
Yeah, actually, the EMI, rent as a EMI, that will save. Also, end of the day, we have asset that, and the in long-term investment, we are somehow you have to divide your salary for saving. So that is one type of investment that will help.
You know what? Eventually, your EMI will become a small percentage of your earning because you start doing well, and general inflation, general rise. EMI by the 10th year, 7th year becomes very small. Yeah.
So
So
it's
any
always
other consideration?
so it's always location and then price and the space availability.
Very close to what you were saying, and one more if I can get, because
Public infrastructure.
pardon?
The eco-friendly environment and the amenities.
Right. Actually, you know what was the answer he gave me? The answer he gave me was, as somebody rightly said, I think it was Venkatesh probably who said, is that location, location, location. Nothing else. The only thing that matters to you is where is it located. Location is the most important parameter when you are buying your house. So EMIs will work out. You buy. Can we mute yourself, Venkatesh? Yeah. EMIs can be managed. You buy a bigger house, you can be managed, but it's all about how convenient is it. Location. So similarly, price is not a very important parameter when it comes to a low visibility, low involvement activity. But if you look at something like a fine dine restaurant, like the one that I just mentioned here, which was here, what happened? There is a price threshold. I know that I'm going to take 5 of you guys out for dinner. I'm not getting you coffee. I'm actually taking you to a fine dine. So I have a mental reservation of how much it is going to cost me. Just like the cup of coffee, there's a price threshold, and the price is a very important parameter for me to visit again. If I have to come, the food may be good, the food may be bad, those are irrelevant to me. If it is within my price bracket, I will come back again. So what happens? I took 5 of my best students out for dinner because they performed exceedingly well. And I said, let me take them to a fine dine restaurant. And then it turned out to be that it was 20% more than what I visualized. I don't want to express it in front of you guys, but the guy at the restaurant, the manager at the restaurant realizes from my face that this guy is unhappy. This guy, hey, yaar, ye to gussa ho gaya isko. I think he finds our prices too expensive. So what does he do? He still has to get me back. So what I need is a deal. That is when the manager will come and say, sir, if you come on the week of your birthday, we'll give you another 20% discount. Or, sir, if you come on your wedding anniversary, we have 30% thrown in. Or you just, here are the coupons. Next time you come, present these coupons, and then you have 20% off. Isn't what happens all the time? That's because they realize that customers in this segment are always deal seeking. They're always looking at how do I get a better deal. So give them a deal, make them to sign a membership. And then they're most likely to come back again and again and again. So this is how the visibility involvement cycle on a low-high parameter works. But when you look at buying a mattress or a washing machine, of course, price is a very, very important parameter. And again, price overweighs everything. And I will do an extensive price search before I buy any product, which is a low visibility, but a very important thing for me. Like a mattress is very important. I might want to look at 101 parameters, but I would equally pay an important to the price. Finally, buying a car. Buying a car, price impacts consideration. That means that the price becomes the most important thing. What is it that I'll tell you about? I want to incidentally tell you guys that I bought myself a new car. That's a wonderful car. That's a sedan, and I paid about 23 lakhs. At no point in the entire conversation, you are asking me how much I paid for it. But I am the one who's telling you how much I paid for the car, is because the price itself becomes a value of consideration. So when I tell you guys that I bought myself an iPhone, I want you to know that I bought myself an iPhone and I paid 55,000. So I'm so proud of the fact that I paid more. So these are the 4 visibility metrics and involvement metrics that one has to do any consideration, even when you are doing around with your product. So if you buy the top quality brands, you may want to talk about it, saying that I paid so much for a thing. We went on a holiday to, and then in that resort, we paid 15,000 per night or something like that. So they know that deal seeking is not what is happening here. Here, they want to let the people know that I spent so much for a particular product. So any questions on this before we move into a different subject on the pricing? Good enough? Okay. Then what happens is that the customer's value of the same service is different by each customer. By what I'm saying, trying to tell you here is every customer values the same product very differently. Now, if you look at the girls and the women in this group, I'm sure they are willing to pay much more and more for a nice hairdo, and would probably go and looking at the most expensive place for a nice hairdo and whatever that styling and all that. But generally, men believe that a hairstyle is a haircut is a haircut. I don't think there's great service in that. What does he do? After all, chop a few hair and send me out. So each of them value it differently. So when they value the same service differently, they also would like to price the same service very differently. Now comes what is called a very important parameter, which is called the willingness to pay. Willingness to pay is how much is each customer, each buyer, be it in the B2B business or be it in the B2C business, willing to pay for a particular product. Nobody knows, right? No vendor knows what is the willingness to pay. Now, willingness to pay is a hidden thought that goes in the mind of the buyer. Now, let's look at this particular scenario. where a buyer wants to buy a laptop. Buyer wants to buy a laptop. Now, the laptop that I, as a seller, have cost is priced at 75,000. So now the customer walks in, looks at the product, maybe likes the product, but says that, sorry, I'm not buying it, it's expensive. Now, how much more expensive? Obviously, he's not going to say. He's going to say, I'm not buying this product. So after a week of setting up my series of computers in the shop, I realized that they're not being sold. Why? Is because it seems to be expensive for the buyer. Now, what should I do? I should reduce the price. But I have no idea how much I should reduce it for, because I don't know what is the willingness to pay by this customer. Now, what would I do? I'll offer a huge bonanza or a sale or a discount or whatever it is, and I will bring down the price of the product to 40,000 rupees. Now I have reduced the price. I have reduced the price. The same customer walks in and the customer actually buys the product. Good, great job done. You've been able to, from a pricing point, convince the customer that he has to buy it, and he bought it. But you do not know how much money did the customer come with. The customer had 50,000 rupees in his or her pocket to buy a computer. And how much did you take it from him? 40,000 rupees. The customer was willing to pay another 10,000 rupees, but unfortunately, you did not know what was the threshold of the willingness to pay. So you ended up by pricing your product 10,000 rupees lower than what was the limit, and a deal has happened. That's not a good deal. Why is it not a good deal? Because you are leaving money on the table. There is money on the table or money in the pocket of the customer. So now the customer would not have bought it at 51,000 rupees. Definitely not. The customer would have bought it at 49,999, which would have been the most perfect price to put your computer at. You did it at 40,000 rupees. The customer is very happy. You are possibly happy, but it's been a bad sale because there's still money in the pocket of the customer. So what do you do next? My question to you, what do we do next? What typically happens in such a situation? Pardon?
They'll sell you accessories.
They will absolutely. They will sell you an accessory. They want to, at the end of the day, they want to know how far are you willing to go. So they will tell you, you're perfectly right. They'll sell you accessories. So madam, why don't you just buy a nice a bag for the laptop, or why don't you take an extended warranty for the laptop? And the idea is keep pushing them till you get to a place where there is a closeness to the willingness to pay. So I hope you guys have been able to understand this. And of course, you will be asked a few questions here and there. So make sure that this topic is understood. If you have any questions on this, we can discuss that.
Okay, I have one question. You told that washing machine people cannot sew in the living room, so they don't want to pay the washing machine. But some washing machine are still the expensive. They have other features that top load, this load, and they have. So
Correct. Okay.
for that.
Okay. No, okay. Which means that you must understand this, the matrix correctly. So if you have understood that when you buy a car, it's a high involvement thing. You will automatically tell that you will say that I paid 15 lakhs for the car, or I paid 12 lakhs for the car, is because you are so proud of the fact that you spend that money, and you are making the price as an important positive buying decision. But in the case of a washing machine, price becomes the only parameter other than technical, other than specifications, because for the same washing machine, you will keep on looking, where can I get a better price. And for some reason, you tell, it happens all the time. At one point, I stopped asking my co-passenger. I think that I'm the most smartest guy when it comes to air travel, and I always get the best price. So there was a time in my life that I would buy a ticket, international or domestic, sit and get involved in a conversation with my co-passenger, and then I ask him how much you paid for the ticket. So he will say, I paid 3,700 Bangalore, Bombay. I paid 4,300. I'm going to feel miserable. about it. But the fact that if my colleague also traveled in the same flight and came, and he told me, Ramesh, I paid 3,700 for the flight, I'm going to say, hey, actually, I paid 8,200 because I traveled business. So you see, when I'm traveling business, I'm going to announce that I paid more for a business class. But when it is a decision which is involving only convenience, only an internal decision, I want to look at a better deal. So the point is, price is not important here. Price is important for you to revisit. Only price is important here. Chalo wahan dekhte hain kahan sasta milega. We have decided what is the model number that we are going to buy, but we'll go and look at 1,000 places to see where is the least, the cheapest one to buy. But here, price becomes the only reason for you to buy. I hope you are understanding the difference.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, good. So this is done. Willingness to pay is another important parameter. So there are two things happens, which means that when you are positioned your product at 75,000 rupees and you have customers looking at 50,000 rupees, then there's something wrong with you. What is that? I want answers because we've discussed this in our previous classes.
So this is Mahesh here. And when you talk about position as to who decided it, I got it from my leadership, my manager per se. So if you want to take the call, sir, I don't.
No, that's not important.
Good.
Yeah.
So just saying that the way we have presented it, you talked about breakfast. Yes, being we work out and check what is available first, then what we want to eat, then the pricing. All right.
Correct.
Now the point is, that if I go into something which is not my kind of stuff, just saying that idli dosa tomorrow is my something that I like to eat, right? But today I want to choose a burger, right? Now the point is, if I reach out there and if I don't find a place where the burger is available, then I don't have a choice. I'll have to choose what I like.
Whatever is there, correct.
Yeah. Then I'll choose what I like. I'll take my idli, dosa, or whatsoever at that point in time.
Right, right.
So
No, but Mahesh, the point I was trying to push you guys to think was that if you have a 75,000 rupees computer, and if you have customers who want it at 50 rupees, then two things. One is that you're pricing your product very high, but second thing is you are attacking the wrong segment.
Secondly on that, sir.
Yeah. So you want to be in a segment. Who is that who is coming to buy your product? Who is that who is coming to buy your product? It's mothers who want laptop for their children. So obviously they have 50,000 rupees as a budget and they'll not go an inch down. But if it was guys who just got their new jobs or guys who are probably working for the top end companies, then the point is, are you able to, where was that? Are you able to get people to hear? This is the point. People must go and say, I paid 75 rupees. I paid 75 rupees for my product because that is where the value is. So this is anyway, that is the point of consideration.
True. So
yeah. Yeah, we started. Yeah, we'll go. I'm okay as long as you guys are okay for some time. Yeah,
we're fine. So if we need a break, so I'm fine with that.
So willingness to pay. Are we not in the today's market? Are we not breaking it through credit in B2B, like credit terms will be expanded, or pay later option for consumers, or credit card options, something like that?
Yeah, you are pushing that willingness to pay.
Yeah, Kiran.
Pushing that willingness to pay. I actually made up my mind to pay 50,000 rupees because that's all I can afford. But impossible for you who's speaking, Kiran, right? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So it's Kiran who wants to buy this computer for 50,000 rupees. And it's impossible that we can sell a computer for 50,000 rupees. Do what may, even if they strip it off its keyboard, it will not work out 50,000 rupees. So what we do is that we now try to push. That's why we have this column. We are now trying to push this willingness to pay up by tempting the customer to do something else, by saying, listen, instead of making it 8% of your salary per month for 6 months, let's make it 6% of your salary for 12 months. Isn't that great job, Kiran? You not only buy the best computer, but you have more money left in your pocket every month because you're only paying 6%, but for 12 months. So that is all that gimmick that goes on. All that good, because they want to push your willingness to pay. They want you to push more. It's easier it's the most easiest thing to push the customer to pay more than to bring down my price, because I cannot bring down my price for the simple reason that I have costing and economics, which we just discussed. And I want to have a discrimination between me and my customer. I mean, me and my competition. I don't want to be around the competition. So, yeah, good. Anything else?
So, Sir Mahesh here again. when we say that we are trying to compete with our competitors, but we don't want to lower our prices, how do we sell the product, right? Secondly, I have a product which is more competitive than with my competitor, and I know it. In that case, why would we even lower our prices?
Yeah, you will not. That's because exactly. That's like that's like BBC Earth. I mean, I don't know from where I got this idea, but that's like BBC Earth having only HD channel.
Yeah,
So
I've seen that. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if BBC Earth has HD and ST also, but I'm assuming that BBC Earth or Discovery Animals has only HD channel. Why?
I believe so.
Because they say that if you're not spending money, don't come to me. As simple as that. So that's the kind of a discrimination. So that done, we will talk about margin and markup. Maybe we'll visit it a little later because I think I have another point out there. You all know what is margin and markup. Margin is selling price, cost price, minus cost price divided by selling price, whereas markup is slightly different. It's how do you market over the cost versus how do you market over the selling price? What is the margin? But we'll not get there. Too fundamental for you guys to talk about it unless you want me to do it. Okay.
Sir, we do.
You are fine to go, or what did you say? You want me to do it?
We want you to explain this to us.
Okay, we want me to explain. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So, what's the margin that you make on a product? How much is the margin? So they told me that how do I wait? Let me get rid of this so that I can, yeah. So the selling price is always above what the cost price is. So if there is a 20% margin, they ask me to sell it at it cost me $75. I sell it at $100, so I make a margin of $25. It's perfectly right? It costed me $75. I sold it for $100, and I made a $25 margin. But if you are talking about markup, it means that it actually, while the product costed me $75, by pricing my selling price at 100, I have a markup of 33. It's a slight play around in the fact that who are you comparing yourself with? Meaning that are you comparing yourself with the selling price? What is it that you have in mind? Or how much did it cost you to do it? In both markups and margins are generally used in one context or the other, but when you are discussing with your customer, you talk about selling price. But I mean, I don't know how to explain to you other than going on to a very long term. But I think I'll leave it at that. If we have time, I'll add 2-3 more slides to make myself be more explained. That's it. But generally understand that margin versus markups are what is the basis of consideration? Is it selling price or is it the cost price? Okay, I think I'll leave it at that. And then we'll go to the next one, which is, what do you want me to? I think we'll see if we have more time because I still have much to cover in this.
Okay. Sir, Mahesh here again. Sorry. So when you say that selling price and marking price, if you could give us a brief as to what the difference is, that will put our thoughts into place.
Yeah. Okay. I'm also trying to give it a thought. Okay, let me give it a thought, and maybe around 3:30 or so, I'll come up with an idea.
Sure, sir. Yeah, please, sir.
So,
Take your time, sir. At your disposal, sir.
Pardon?
At your disposal, take your time.
Yeah, I'll get to the point. Because I'll tell you why. Eventually, margin and markup is a big topic of discussion at all the time. When we are proposing or quoting to a customer. Let's say you're quoting a service to a customer. Let's see. Hopefully,
Sure.
as I talk,
Absolutely.
you might get examples to talk about it.
Absolutely.
Okay. So when I'm quoting,
can I try?
Pardon?
Can I try?
Yeah, sure.
Please.
You tried. Well, I just switch on the fan.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
I can hear you.
Yeah, margin is something like in service industry. I want to explain this. For example, one organization takes a service from, for example, IBM. Now, IBM says, I want to do this for 11,000 because my cost comes up to whatever it is. They don't mention the cost of it, but they will quote 11,000 rupees is something that I want to do this business. If not, I'm not doing. So IBM will calculate what is the cost of doing this business, and they will have some 20-25% as a margin, or I would say profit. But in markup, what happens is client wants to do the business with IBM. They will ask you, what is the cost that you incur? I will pay a markup value of 20%. Whatever the cost you incur, you give me the cost, I will give you the markup value of 20%. Now IBM says, okay, I am spending 10,000 and 20% is a markup value, 12,000 I'll bill month on. Something like this is the difference.
Yeah, very close, very close, very close. So actually, I'll take that as what happens is there are two ways that let's keep this conversation going. There are two ways that anybody wants to bid for a project. There are two ways that anybody bids for a project. One is to say that you give me, it'll cost me $10,000, as he rightly said, $11,000 for IBM to deliver this project to, let's say, the end customer, L&T or whoever that is. So he said $11,000. But then L&T would say, listen, I'm in this business for a long time. I have some great relationship with your vendors, and I am in a better position to discuss with your vendors and get a better price. So then tell me and give me a breakup of each of your costing so that I know how to do it. So now we are in a very tricky situation because we said it will cost us $11,000 to deliver this project. And then the customer is saying, give me a breakup. Maybe cables are coming up from Havells and my uncle works for Havells. I'll get a better price or something like that. But still, why are they coming to you? Why are they coming to IBM or why are they coming to me or this? Because despite all these sub-components which go on to making the price or the entire quote, there is an additional value add that we are doing. We are actually bringing in skill sets. We are actually delivering this product. So we tell, okay, fair enough, guys. You may have better negotiating skills. So what we will do is we will do what is called a cost plus. What happens in a cost plus is I and you will agree that whatever is the cost of the product, because I am doing a value add, we will negotiate cost plus 10%, cost plus 8%. So I will be transparent with all my purchases with L&T or the end user. And then finally, I buy for $9,000. And that is the cost. But we decided that because it involves my effort, my manpower, my timings, and my thing, you will give me 10% over that. And so we have a 9,900 will be the final call to these guys. So this is a cost plus like situation. But Kiran is perfectly right. This is the closest that you can go to understanding what is margin versus markup. Markup is, you know what your costs are and how do you mark it up to a certain level. But margin is how much did you actually make in terms of the whole thing. Right. I think, Kiran, that is a very good attempt. And thanks for making it a little more easier. Right?
Sir,
Thank you, sir.
Sorry, this is Mahesh here. Any example that says that cost plus, or
I'll give you half a dozen margin and markup examples, if not now. I mean, that's the only thing we do for a living here. So I'll pull out cases and tell you why it's a very tricky thing. Why it's a very tricky thing. See, I tell you why it's very tricky. It's the same thing. It costs me 75. I sell it at 100. I say there's a margin of 25. But then at the same time, I sold it for 100. It costed me 25. The markup is 33%. There is no change in numbers. There is no change in numbers. Sold at 75, bought at 7, sold at 100, bought at 75. It's all about the mental perception of where are you in the entire cycle. There's nothing has changed. It's all about how do you do a markup versus margin. Okay, it's more like an accounting principle, and then that might get better.
Second you there, sir.
Okay, but I'll come back to you on this.
Yeah. Anytime, sir. Please, sir. Please, sir.
Good. Let's move ahead.
Sure.
So the question here is, I put you a slide like this, and I asked you what should be my price. If I price it at 10, I can sell 100. If I price it at 2, I can sell 1,000. So how much do you want me to price it at? I know none of you are answering because it's a incomplete slide. The price is there, but you don't know what it costs me to produce it, right? So then I come back and say, listen, it costs me $1 to produce. And now tell me, how much should I price my product at? How much do I price my product at? If I price my product at $10, listen to this carefully, this is the key to any pricing of a product. If I price it at $10, huge profit, right? Huge profit. You want to call it margin, you want to call it markup. $8 mein liya, $10 mein becha. But I can only sell 100. So I make a profit of 90. But if I price it at $5, I can only sell 300, or I can sell 300. And how much do I make? I make 1,200. But if I even go further and say, man, let's make more and more money, and then you sell it at $2, you can sell 1,000. But at 1,000, how much profit are you making? You're making only $1,000. So this shows where is the most sweet spot for price versus quantity. Now the sweet spot is at $5, not at $2. If I price it at $5, and if I can sell 300, that's the best thing that can happen to me, because I do not want to sell the 301th product at $2 because I'm not making that much of profit. So this then comes up to a discussion saying that what is the ideal? That is why not many companies are, this is market share. This is market share, my friend. At 1,000 quantity, I'll have 100% market share. At 100, I might have a 10% market share. At 30, I may have a 30% market share. But at 30% market share, I am extremely profitable in terms of my competition. So this is what every company looks at. No company wants to have a market share which will impact pricing.
So, sir, interrupt. This is my issue again. This is something that we're discussing regarding one company, right?
Everybody, it's not a company related thing. It's just a pricing versus quantity, demand scheduling. That's all.
Okay. Demand scheduling. Okay, cool. So if my competitor is doing better than me, how do I counter that?
If your competitor is doing better than what? You in terms of quality or quantity sale, or is it in terms of profitability? You have no idea on what your competitor's profitability is because you have no idea of what is costing her.
So assuming that scenario, thank you. Assuming that this is my company and it's doing it this ways, right? But then I have like somebody who is doing better than me. How do I counter that?
What is better than you? That's the question I'm asking you. What is better than you?
So say they are delivering 5%, $5, right? So at 4, their percentage
No.
is
See what happens.
better than me, right?
No. You are Mahesh. You're getting it wrong here. In the sense that this is not in terms of how do I do with profit with my competition.
Okay.
It's a question of. I'll tell you a story.
Sure.
Who started Sony? Do you have any idea who started Sony?
I must have. I don't Google too much.
There was a guy called, and his book is called Made in Sony. Made in Japan or made
Sony
in Sony.
as in the Sony Japan you're talking about?
Akino Morito. Morito is
I know him. Yeah.
So what happens? Akino Morito. This was just at the end of the Second World War, when Japan as a nation had surrendered and was on its way of revival. Among many revivals that happened, Sony is one of the most successful stories of how the whole industry came up. And he was doing what is called basic. One of the things that he was doing was a basic radio. One of the first products of Sony was a radio.
Sure.
Now, Sony was manufacturing these radios in Japan, but they had a huge consumer base in the US. So US was buying the Sony radios, and just like we have E-Zone and Chroma and maybe Amazon or things like that, shops similar to E-Zone and Chroma are like Radio Shack and Best Buy and things like that, or at those stage, at that part of the year. Sure. So the Radio Shack guy goes and talks to Sony and says, you're making these radios, how much does it cost for a single number? So he says, it will cost you $100. Let's say an arbitrary number like $100. Sure. I'll sell you one for $100. So this guy comes back and says, okay, one is good. I want to buy 10 of them. How much would you give it to me for? This guy says $95. So he says, not 10, I want to buy 500 of them. So he says, okay, 500 of them, we will give it to you at $92. I want to buy 1,000 of them. 1,000 of them will cost you $104. The guy says, what the hell is happening here? I'm increasing the quantity of purchase from 1 to 1,000. And now you're saying each of them is going to cost me 104. So this guy explains what is now famously known as the J curve or the hockey curve. What happens is when up to 500, it is possible for him to push his employees, to push his suppliers, to push his manufacturing plant to deliver 500. But beyond 500, he'll have to establish a new plant. He has to renegotiate with suppliers. Suppliers should have the ability to give him a delivery, and he'll have to employ more people, and hence it will cost him more. So while quantity is something that we are all excited about, quantity only matters, depends on who you are, what are your capabilities, and what is it that you can do, and what is the profitability. I'll give you one more, and just remembered another story, and I'll give you an interesting for all.
Thank you so much, Prof.
Okay, is what happened was, when I was in one of my companies that I used to work for, I got into a good friendly relationship with one of the top guys at the Indian Railways,
Oh, nice.
So this is a long old story. So they were expanding their communication network, and this is not the days of fiber. It was on the days of copper. So you had copper cables, or what I call
Yeah, old days. Yeah,
coaxial cables and
of course, coaxial, sir.
Coaxial cables.
Yeah.
And they said there's a tender that is coming up, and I'll do it favorable for you. And that you had to import most of the cables. At that time, India was not ready. So I got in touch with him, and
we are getting early 20s, like 90s.
Yeah, 1990s. Yeah, more precisely in the 90s.
Somewhere around. So I started my career with servers around 29, what? It was early 90s. Ending,
yeah, but okay. But so let me tell you what happened. Let me tell you what happened.
Thank you so much, sir.
So what happened was, so this was a requirement for 600 kilometers of coaxial cable. That's a huge requirement. And I was with my company, I was assigned to find a vendor. So obviously I can't go to the top vendors, because the vendors would themselves be supplying on their own. So I picked up the phone, lots of people, and finally I found a manufacturer in UK who was doing this coaxial cables, and we got into a very, very nice relationship, and we bid for that tender. And needless to say, we got the business. Great celebrations in the office. I was the most liked man in the office. There was a lot of celebration. That was over and above the target for me, over and above the target for the branch. It was a huge business, and we were celebrating. And I said, this is the time to call my supplier in UK. And I called my supplier in UK and said, hey, listen, we got this business. Congratulations. Now we need to deliver 600 kilometers of cable. He said, can you repeat it? Could you repeat what you said? I said, yeah, 600 kilometers of cable over the next 6 months. He said, my friend, we manufacture 30 kilometers of cable annually. Now
I remember those days.
Now you bring me a business of 600 kilometers. There's no way that we can do it. So what was a pat on the back, you know what happened to it? It went further down on my, to the lower part, and we were in trouble. So
let's not talk about it.
Yeah, so quantity is always not the best thing to happen. Quantity is always a parameter of what is your profitability.
Quality and profitability.
Yeah, and nobody knows what is profitability. Nobody knows what is profitability within the whole organization. Right? So let's move then to the next point, which is that. So this is a big explanation for you, saying that you need to find the sweet spot. I mean, it's a tongue twister for me. Sweet spot for what could be a price versus quantity thing. The second point that we discussed, listen, where are we? Good time to give you a guess. Okay, another 10 minutes. I'll do this part of it. We talked about price elasticity. We talked about what happens to the customer, and then we'll do what is called a price discrimination, because price discrimination is what happens between the customer and the competition, and why the customer should like you instead of the competition.
So price discrimination, a quick example, anything?
Yeah, we are getting right there. We're just getting
Okay, cool. Sound
right
Sounds
there.
good, sound.
That brings up to a question here is to what the rest of the team are doing here. So let me just try to wake up Asha. How are you? Are you following me? Asha is Dilip ready? Hi Deba, how are you? Dilip, are you following?
Yes, sir. Following.
Anything that you have questions for? Because I and Mahesh and Kiran are the ones who are noisy out here. And are you following me?
My apologies, team.
Yeah.
Sorry
So-
about that. Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's
Just
I want
wanted to get the team along. So this is tricky.
Okay.
This is
Okay.
tricky. So yeah.
Then anybody else? Dilip, are you following the conversation? Gagana? Gagana, Gopinath?
Yes.
Yeah, are you all right? Good. Kiran, of course, I see here. Kiran, myself, Mahesh are all there. Deba, who woke me up this morning. Are you been following
yes,
us?
sir. Yes.
Okay. And where's Khushbu? How are you? We chatted this morning, right?
Yeah, sir. I'm fine, sir. I'm
And
following.
have you uploaded?
Yeah, sir. I uploaded.
If any one of you are late for uploading your documents for assignment 2, may want to personally thank Khushbu, because she said, "Oh, sir, can you extend?" Then I said, "Okay, we'll do it for a week, for the weekend." So then, Gary,
Thanks for
Subaya, how are you?
Good, Professor. How are you doing?
Good. You wanted some help, or not help. You wanted to discuss syllabus.
Yes, we can do that at the end of the class, Professor.
Oh, I'll do it right away.
Okay, perfect.
There is no syllabus.
Oh my.
Sir.
So everything
There is
under
no
the sun
syllabus.
is the syllabus.
Okay. We talk around.
Everything
Yeah.
under the sun is the syllabus.
That's good.
I'll tell you, most questions will be out of syllabus. Is that shock?
Everyone's fallen into silence.
No.
Hearing that.
No. Okay. No.
Sir, out of syllabus, as in we talk
So now
globally, that
everybody
means,
is awake.
isn't it?
Pardon?
We will talk globally. That means.
Yeah. No. Actually, I mean, jokes apart. I might want you to give me an example of price discrimination rather than ask you to explain what is price discrimination.
Oh, so if you put a question as in what is price discrimination in? Price
So
discrimination.
I don't think I would want you to
do us.
define price discrimination as mentioned in the textbook and as mentioned in my slide. I don't think you'll ever get a question like that.
So you don't want us to copy paste the.
Yeah. So
yeah, kind of.
yeah.
Kind of.
So
Normally we do that. So
and I might ask you something like, why is ID as in the company, right? ID, what is ID Dosa? Idli Dosa ID company. How many of you have heard of it?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes.
Yeah, so I might want to ask you, why is ID selling better than MTR?
Oh,
Answer that
Interesting.
using price as a parameter. And
That's very interesting.
So would there be case studies? Like for example,
there will be case study. Good. Who is that?
Priyanka.
Priyanka, very good. there will be a case study. What will be a case study would be, let me try to give you an example of what a case study could be. A case study would be, I'll give you a story and then tell you is that, okay, I'll tell you that Haldiram's is, well, actually, will not bring up Haldiram's. Danger, 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 danger. Okay, we'll say, name the other guys. Okay, why is Adyar Anand Bhavan has been able to go
Sir,
and
may I
expand?
interrupt?
Pardon?
May I interrupt?
Yeah.
Sorry for the audacity. Why do you say Haldiram is danger, danger, danger? Just an understanding.
समझने
owner got
वालों को,
arrested,
there was a saying, समझने वाले समझ गए. What's the next line?
Maybe it is.
Much
Maybe
दिया था
it
मैंने,
is
but then थोड़ी some thoughts are always good.
Yeah, so
Maybe it
no,
will
there is a song, no, there is a song, समझने वाले समझ गए.
ना समझे वो अनाड़ी है.
Kavit, Abhi, you understood. Suravi, you exactly know why I said no Haldiram.
Actually,
Okay.
Haldiram, yeah, Haldiram has some the ban by the Americans.
जो समझेगा वही समझेगा. जिनकी
I wanted to get the team along. Everybody knows why we said that. I know that.
Okay. But then the point is, we are discussing on what is the kind of case study. So I'll give you a case study and say, what do you think this company should do? Let us say Lakme is having sales falling of late. But Lakme has been positioning itself in a particular situation. So do a SWOT analysis of Lakme. Would you be investing into Lakme? Where do you think Lakme is in terms of the 4 quadrants? And what, in your opinion, would you want to have Lakme in the position of the minds of the people? So do you want Lakme positioning itself as a Tata branded high quality Indian cosmetic company and hence you should buy it? Or you say Lakme is meant for the ones who are price conscious? Is that what you want to do? So every line is only directed towards making you explain using the terms that we have discussed. What are the terms that we have discussed? Vision, mission, SWOT analysis, BRIO analysis, Garner's matrix, the 4 Ps, do a 4P versus a 4C comparison, and why do you believe 4P is history and no longer important to us? What would your answer be, Suravi? What would your answer be if I were to ask you, why is 4 Ps irrelevant in today's world?
Vision, mission, that one. Okay.
The reason is?
Yeah. Question, can you repeat again the question?
Yeah. My question to you and Gopika would be, why do you believe 4 Ps are not important and 4 Cs are rather more important? Suravi.
Mission, vision, okay.
4 Ps versus 4 Cs. Gopika, you want to take a shot?
Promotion, okay. That price, promotion, all that. Yeah, that is important because if there is a promotion, then people mind it will click when you go the shop, you will choose to buy that one. That promotion important. Price also important. That poor people cannot afford that expensive thing to buy with that salary. And
Gopika, yeah, good, Surabhi. You want to say something, Gopika?
No, I'd hold my thoughts.
Okay, no, the answer would be 4 Ps are, the point I was trying to say is 4 Ps are designed with the company in mind. Remember what we discussed. It's my price.
That, right?
It's my product. It's my place. तुमको खरीदना है तो मेरे घर आके मेरे दुकान में आके ले लो. then only I will give you. But no, nothing is happening. You want to sell, come to my house and sell. If I had my son switch from Vodafone to Airtel, Airtel says, we'll come to your house and deliver the new SIM. But when I wanted a BSNL phone 20 years back, I had to wait for 7 years and stand in the queue because they said, my phone, my company. Now they are saying, you are
Customer
my
first.
customer, I'll do everything. So
Yeah.
4 Ps are no longer relevant because they look at from the company's perspective, whereas 4 Cs are important because they look from the consumer's
Consumer's
perspective.
perspective.
So these are the kind of questions that you might get to be asked. If you have been following me historically, because I have been teaching from the very first class, historically, if you've been following me, you will do very well. Not just in the exam, but in marketing as a subject. Okay?
So,
Right. Is that, Gary, a good answer to your question?
Perfect, Professor.
Or
Thank
have
you.
I confused you further? Anyway, I am happy. If
Okay,
I've
great.
confused you further, I'm happy. If I've made you feel comfortable, I'm happy. Where have I? Have I confused
I'm
you?
good. No, I'm comfortable with your answers. So I
With the
think I
answer.
know what you're expecting.
Okay, good. Another 2 more minutes. Let me wake up somebody else and say, Jagdeep, how are you? Jagdeep is muted. Mahendra.
Hi, sir. I am there.
Hi. Are you following me, Mrudula?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, one question is there.
Yes.
Now we are getting vaccines. Okay. Vaccine and Covishield. So
What is
are they
that?
we are getting vaccine right now. Vaccine and Covishield. So they are following 4P or 4C? They are following 4P, I think. Because
okay, very interesting question.
And the pricing of this both vaccines also, they are.
So you tell me, is it a buyer's market or is it a seller's market?
It's a seller's market, I think, right now.
So what did the government tell you? Tumko jo milega,
le lo.
So it is but now influenza vaccine or vaccine for children. Oh, I don't know. I can't make vaccine for measles. You may want to compare products. You may want to compare the costing because there are multiple options available and there is no great urgency. So products like, okay, that brings up to a very important conversation is to why is there a big fight going with Covaxin not being recognized, Covishield not being recognized, and most of Indian vaccines not recognized globally. The reason is India already has a significant market share in the developing countries for their pharmaceutical products. They are already a powerhouse when it comes to medicines and things like that. But now, if our products, our vaccines get recognized, then it's a global recognition of India's manufacturing and pharmaceutical capability. So if you have recognized, I will tell you, I'll probably tell you a story when it comes to branding, is that, how do I tell you? Okay, the first credit card that we had was always dear to us. The first savings account we had was always dear to us because it was the first time that it happened to us. So similarly, the vaccine that was given to me, I'm so happy that it saved my life that I'm beginning to like that company. So that is why Pfizer and Moderna don't want to have Indian branding go out. Anyway, that I hope answered you. Let me go further and get a few more names and then we'll take a break. Pawan, how are you? Pooja? Priyanka just answered a question. Rupesh, yeah. Who's that?
Hi, sir. So there
Yeah,
are
hi.
two Rupesh.
Yeah, hi Rupesh. I remember your face too. I think you were, which group are you?
We are from group 14, sir. I mean, I'm from group 14.
Yeah, I recall all these faces nowadays.
Maybe Surabhi would be our front runner in our group.
Surabhi, and where are you, Surabhi?
Surabhi.
Yeah. Group 14,
Any questions,
Rupesh
Surabhi?
was the introduction part of our group. That's why you remember his face. The first person who introduced us.
Good.
No one can forget Survi, sir. She's very
Oh,
active.
is that?
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Sir, no organization also not forget me. I used to fight organization so much.
good. Good. Taranath Shetty. Yeah, I just wanted, you know what? I mean, if we were offline or we were in class, I would just have physically shaken you up and woken all of you and Syed Hassan and all that. So good. We still have price discrimination to talk about, value-based, product range, product pricing, then consumption adjusted margin, and all of this in our next session. So since I started a little late, I am extending it along. And then we'll take a break at 3:25. Do we give it a 10 or 15 minutes break? Let's hear who's going to decide.
Sir,
Sandhya Rani. Sandhya Rani, are you there?
Yes, Professor.
What should be the break we should have? 10 minutes or 15 minutes?
Please say 15.
10 or 15 is fine.
10 or 15 is fine. Okay.
Yeah.
So 15.
15.
Sir, this is Mahesh here again.
340. Okay.
Sir, this is Mahesh here again. While we take the break, I have some questions on this particular slide that we have. And the third point says price discrimination. But then
let's do after break, I feel. Mahesh.
The whole idea, I was getting him there. I've not even discussed the slide. So
I am not even discussing the slide, buddy. I'm just saying that I just want Professor to know that I want to discuss this, just the third point.
Okay, respect your questions, but this
we'll
slide is
discuss
not
all of that. We'll discuss all of that. See you guys at 3:40.
Okay, guys,
Okay,
take your break. Okay, guys.
3:40.
Yeah, sorry, sir. Yeah, you're gone.
3:40. Remember, you guys just woke me up. You will generously apply the toothpaste when the contents is full, but you will only apply a little bit when the content is very less, right?
Right.
That's a human mentality. That's not just an Indian mentality, that's a human mentality. So now, if you have a look at this, if there is only one Medimix in your house, you will be very, very careful. You will only consume very little of it. But when you bought 3+1, you know that there is 3 more bars of Medimix soap in my bathroom shelf, and you will liberally use it. Correct? So if this is the philosophy that we appreciate, then companies always give you discounts on a larger bottle sizes. If you buy 500 grams of Kellogg's, it will cost you 100 rupees. But if you buy 1 kilo of Kellogg's, it should cost you 200 rupees, but they will give it to you at 80 rupees. Yes or no?
180.
Correct.
Wait, pardon?
180 rupees. Yes, we will get
Yeah,
it.
you will get it at, at 180 rupees. Why? Why do they give you? The reason they give you is because of the mental psyche that we all have. is that once we start seeing things in larger quantities available with us, we will consume more. So just because you consume let's say 1 kilo of washing powder per month, and they give you a discount on 2 kilos, it doesn't mean that it will actually last you 2 months. Because you see more washing powder in your house, you will be more liberal and you will actually end up spending it in 1.5 months. So at the end of 1.5 months, you will come back to my shop and again buy the soap powder. But if you had bought only 1 kilo, you would have every month, you would have actually come at the end of the second month. So with this psychological behavior of human being, we go around with the concept saying that companies can give you a better discount because of the fact that you will be consuming more. So you have what is called a consumption adjusted margin, meaning that, forget this example, look at the example I'm telling you, is that, let me go back to and show what will happen. Okay, oh my God, I went off to another new share. I think I lost a slide, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I think a different PPT is being popped up.
A different PPT is being popped up.
Also, yeah, you can close this PPT.
Wait. Okay, share this. No. 1 minute. Huh? Wait. Stop share. Oh my God, why is this? Participant can announce your application. Oh, wait a minute. Give me a minute. Let me share this. Okay, share screen. Pricing, where is pricing? Pricing, okay. No, it's not coming, right?
Sir, can you?
So I think you
Are
closed
you
the
able to see
file.
it?
So
So
no,
close this
sir.
particular PPT. I'm sorry, Priyanka, go ahead.
Yeah.
Just close this PPT, sir, and go back. Yeah, we are
Back on. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
now we can see, sir.
slide up.
Yes.
Yeah. So, we see consumption adjustment.
Okay, resume share. No.
Go back. No. Close this.
Okay.
Professor, the problem is you need to share the application.
Yeah. Wait a minute. I'll take care of it. Give me a minute. Sometimes the simplest of the things become so complex. Yeah. Okay. Price.
Yeah, that happens. That's fine. Yeah. Fine.
And the slide that I don't want to share with you guys, it ends up popping up left, right, and center.
So why don't you try command quit? Command Q. I think that should work.
That should work, right? Eventually, this is what should work. No. Okay. PowerPoint. Wait, okay. This is my Mac. Give me a minute. I'll just do it in a.
Oh, it's a Mac. Okay.
Click anywhere on the PPT, sir, and then I think you can use the command Q.
Yeah. Got it. Good.
Hmm.
Good. I wanted to change something, and then I ended up in a situation like this.
I studied Sanskrit. Sorry, sir. Wrong slide for me.
No, maybe we can discuss this. Maybe
He
we
really
can
won't
discuss.
mind, sir. Like, yes, happy to discuss.
You know what? Okay, we just wait. And we do play around with this.
Okay.
The idea was that I felt that among the things that I thought I should do in life is that make the Bhagavad Gita more translatable to the general world.
Okay.
So,
Nice.
So I thought I'll quit. He refuses to quit, huh?
Yeah, dahi almost. So sorry, sir. Yeah.
Okay. Wait, let's do one thing. I'll give me a minute.
Yeah, sir. Yeah. So if you just do that, it's a Mac. So on the left-hand top, you will see the red circle. Just click on that.
Wait, 1 minute. I'm going to just restart, okay?
Okay.
It gets stuck actually, Mahesh. So,
Yeah, so let me restart. Give me 2 minutes. I'll just restart and rejoin, okay?
Maybe,
yes,
sir.
sir.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. God bless you.